We are live from the Real Music Nashville studios. I got one of my favorite people in the world here with me tonight, Chancey Neil.
Oh.
I always tell her she's one of the best songwriters I've heard.
Oh, man.
She don't believe me.
I sure don't.
Well, thank you for being here tonight.
Well, I'm happy to be here. We've been needing to do this.
I know. You just said a few minutes ago, it feels like we can sing each other in forever.
I know. Well, we still haven't written a song together.
That's hard.
You want to write tomorrow?
That's hard to believe, ain't it?
You want to jump in on the write tomorrow?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
All right. Gosh, I love your songwriting.
Thank you. I've gotten better at loving my songwriting. I'm so critical of myself, so I really compliments still mean. I mean, I feel like in our business, we get a lot of compliments, and we're used to being around new people that have never heard us sing, and I still enjoy someone saying they like my songwriting or my singing, or lately it's been, I really like how funny you are, and I'm like, that's a new one. Okay. I like that one a lot.
Well, you do tell some good stories now. I will give you that. Matter of fact, last show we did together was in Alabama. It was at the Square in Alexander City, Deconstructed sessions, and you just had that whole room, right there in the palm of your hand. You just tell them stories, and they was hanging on to every word.
I think I married an Alabama boy. I think I just get along with people from Alabama. I mean, that room, honestly, I don't know. There's so many factors that go into a good set. And I was really proud of that. That day I had a blast. But that room was just set up, I feel like, perfectly. It was a big enough crowd to where, they were feeding off each other's, laughter. And I feel like a lot of them kind of knew each other.
Mm-hmm.
But it was also, small enough to where they were hanging on. I feel like everyone had a good set, everyone's words, So
Mm-hmm.
kudos to you for setting that up, too.
Well, that's sort of the Deconstructed sessions. That's what it's about. It's so that we can, sell our audience on the songs and why we wrote them, who we wrote them with, and so that was the premise behind it. So, and that's the same thing as the premise tonight. I don't know, we've only been here in the studio twice. We've been live at Whiskey Bent for the past 4 months,
Mm-hmm.
and you was on one of those.
Those are fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those are awesome.
But a few weeks
sets.
ago, we started doing the show here live in the studio, and we got some real big plans. So
Cool.
So-
I'm excited to be a part of it.
Yeah.
Anything you do, call me.
Well, for y'all that don't know, Chancey is from Texas,
Louisiana.
Louisiana.
I mean, here's the deal. So you can tell I'm from Louisiana because it's she acts like she's from Texas, but she drinks a lot. Louisiana for sure. Louisiana, somebody said, they're like, oh, Louisiana is Texas's biggest county, and I'm like, I guess you could say that. We just got some better food. Maybe I shouldn't say better, but you can't. Cajun food is hard to beat.
I did that Louisiana show with y'all.
Oh yeah.
I snuck right on in there.
Come on.
I mean, Alabama, Louisiana, that sounds similar. When they ask me where
Yeah.
I'm from,
Well, I don't know.
Yeah,
Same thing. Yeah.
that was fun. That was a great night. That was a
Oh
great show.
man. Yeah, that was a good time for sure.
But I am a huge, huge fan of yours, and I'm, grateful to have your friendship.
Same.
And I'm glad that you enjoyed being a part of things I do, because I enjoy having you.
Well, thank you. Chad, you are a connector. Kristen Kelly is who connected us.
Mhm.
So it's crazy. I only met you in August, but I've had a crazy, I would say probably year. I know 2020 was wild for everybody, but I feel like I made so many new friends and over the year. So I can't look back on it and be like, man, 2020 sucked, even though absolutely it was a tough year. But I kind of just went a different route with it, and you were one of those people. And then just you being a connector, how many shows have we played together now? A bunch, since
retreats,
August. Yeah, retreats and just a good group of folks.
I just love good people.
I do
And
too.
Our group of people that we hang out with and write with,
Mm-hmm.
we got a fantastic group of friends.
It really is.
I mean, I'm just so grateful to be part of it,
Yeah, same.
The first time we met was on a retreat in Alabama.
Yep, that's right.
And we had just finished up our record, and you got up and sang a song at night. That was the same name of one of the songs that we was going to get up and sing.
Oh my gosh. I want to hear it from your perspective because I feel like I'm always the one that's like, oh my, because I was so excited, and I was also like, oh my gosh, he's the one like putting on the retreat. I hope he's not. People can get competitive in Nashville, you know, and I was like, I hope, you know, I don't know. It's like they're completely different songs, but similar ideas. And honestly, when I heard it, I was like, which we're going to, but like we could write some great songs, because a lot of times like the people I gel with the most in a writing room, and that ends up happening. Like I'll have a title I've been having in my phone for 2 years, and I throw it out in a room. They're like, oh, I wrote that already, you know. And so it's a good sign.
It's good for me though, because every time I see you, I ask for a new sticker. And then I can go sell it as my own merchandise.
I got some new stickers. They don't say Hail Mary on them, but I have some new stickers.
I got one on my guitar. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's awesome.
Well, so I told you a little bit about this show.
Mhm.
We get a little, you know, we ain't got to go deep or whatever.
I thought you were gonna say we get a little drunk, and I was like, hey, I'm ready. Let's go.
Well, you did bring some wine.
I did. Cabernet.
But yeah, take us back. Because, you know, I tell this everywhere we go. I'm proud of this. But whenever I introduce you to somebody, what's the first thing I say?
World champion.
That's right. And I'm so proud of that. Because we used to rodeo when I was little, you know.
Yeah, I didn't know that. That's awesome.
You know, we lived up in Missouri for a while, and everybody around us rodeoed, so we didn't have no choice.
Yeah.
We didn't necessarily do it.
I was, too.
But I was a huge fan of barrel racing, a huge fan of bull riding. And you know, you're a world champion barrel racer.
Yeah, you know, it's crazy. I had a great horse, and I don't say that like, I do try to be humble about it, but man, like he's still alive, and he's taught so many kids. My family also gave like riding lessons, and he's taught so many kids how to ride, and yeah. So I guess I'll just kind of tell my story.
Yeah.
Like I drink, and if I have a drink in my hand, that's all I'll focus on. So. I grew up in a.
We got a live studio audience
right?
tonight,
Yeah.
by the way.
I grew up North Louisiana, and my dad was a professional bull rider, and then my mom had always had horses, and her dad raised quarter horses and paint horses, and so Dakota, who I won world on when I was 9, my papa raised him from a baby. And so it's kind of funny. I mean, I'll go on another level of talking about genetics and stuff, which is probably not the right podcast for that. But it's just cool to, you know, have a horse that was in the family like that win something that big. But, I mean, since then I've really started studying genetics, and I geek out over it. I raise, like, babies now, and I just get so excited. So, anyway, when I was 9, I won world championship, and I won state as well, and Mid-South Nationals on that same horse.
So how do you even get to the world championship?
Well, you qualify for it. So there's it was NBHA sanctioned, National Barrel Horse Association, which at the time was the biggest one next to WPRA, which is like where you go to the NFR. But I wasn't old enough to compete professionally, because that's 18 and up. It used to not be 18 and up, and then they changed it. The rumor was like, that's because all the kids was waxing everybody's tail, you know. Which, I mean, I don't know if I agree with that, because there are some amazing, you know, people. It's incredible how those horses and riders are. But
yeah.
So, what was your question? I get so like. I get so into like being inspired by barrel racers. I'm like, wait, what?
Well, that's true. We're talking about how you get to the world championship.
Oh yeah, so you qualify like through, you know, there's a run every Saturday, and so you qualify on a state level and then a national level. And so, luckily, the nationals were only like 2 hours from our house, because that's just like a barrel racing hot spot. And yeah, so I qualified, and then there's probably like 1,000 barrel racers that end up going to nationals. So it's because it's all over the world, and also like overseas. They would either fly horses over, or they would lease a horse once they got over here.
Hence world championship.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that is remarkable. That is something to be proud of.
It's cool. I'm very proud of it. I mean, I have that pull. Like, I love everything about rodeo. And
I just imagine you got a big gold belt.
Oh, yeah. I have a picture of, like, I was wearing it, and the buckle is just, like, it's huge. I was, like, I'm, like, 5 foot nothing now. You can imagine how little I was at 9. And, yeah, it's great. And I want a horse trailer, too. Horse trailer, saddle. I kind of had a moment last week because I'm breaking a 2-year-old right now. And I used my world champion saddle for their, like, first couple times to have the saddle on their back because it's lightweight. It's a youth saddle. And and he's the first one that, like, I've raised on my own. Like, I watched him come into the world, like, picked out his daddy, picked out his mama, And I slung that saddle on him. It said world champion. I was just like, wow, this is a cool moment, to do something like that. But maybe he'll be a world champion one day.
So they even further with that today, right? I think that they're at the gene level now, picking their mom and dad.
Oh God, you can, like, it's incredible what you can do nowadays.
So
yeah.
I don't have any experience with horses, but I will tell this quick story. We played a show down in, I won't want to say where it's at.
Down in somewhere.
Yeah, we met the guy who has the pedigree, the highest rated pedigree of chickens for chicken fight.
Oh, I was not expecting you to say that at all.
That's the complete opposite of a horse. But I mean, it's so serious.
Oh yeah, I mean,
he's got people that fly in from all over the world to come and buy his chicken. And
there's such a market. I've learned about this recently in Alabama too, ironically enough. My husband boxed for a while, and he was, like, seriously into training and was, like, wanting to go pro. And one of his coaches back in the day, not currently, he just had, like, a single wide trailer, like, back out, on the back 40. And Brian was like, what's that? What do you do with that? And he goes, oh, that's my chicken gym. And he was like, your chicken gym? And he thought he was joking. He's like, no, that's where we work out the chickens. And he was serious. They have, like, they work them out or whatever. And he was like, yeah, some of them will sell for, like, $100,000.
Yeah.
And, like, some amazing. Of the tournaments they win, it's an insane amount of money. I'm like, what in the world? It's crazy.
I mean, it's unbelievable.
Some redneck.
So imagine
right
the horses can sell for even.
Am I allowed to say that on this podcast? I had to bleep it out.
So how about the horses? How much can they go for?
Oh, a lot. It depends on their training level, like, and their bloodlines. I mean, but a few $100,000 up to $1 million. I mean, and now I'm talking about, like, million, couple 100,000. Like, that horse has to be, like, proven or have some really awesome genetics, like, to pass down to it.
So let's see, who won the last Triple Crown?
Oh God, put me on the spot.
I'm talking about 2 different types of horses, ain't I?
Yeah, thoroughbred.
Okay.
They know. That wasn't the last one. One won it right the year after he did Justified, but you are right. American Pharoah won it, and then the next year another horse won it.
Yeah. So
I got to meet American Pharoah.
So the direct offspring of American Pharoah,
yes,
can sell for what, millions of dollars?
Yes, absolutely. It's kind of interesting. Like, there's on the thoroughbred side of things, there's this horse named Stormcat, and he never really won a whole lot on the racetrack. But when it came down to his progeny, it was down to, like, every single one of them was proven and would win. And so it really depends on how, a lot of times, like, if this horse won in the rodeo arena, then its offspring are very likely to also win. But sometimes that's not how it goes. But if they've been proven, is what we call it, then, that stud or that mare has had babies that have won money, then it's just genetics. They pass it down.
How many horses you got now?
I have 4 right now. So I try to keep one in. Like, I really like to have a project, but just I have broodmares, and like they're just babied and have babies and get fed. You know, we don't ride them or anything. So I like to keep one just to like kind of rehab, like train, teach it some stuff that it didn't know before, and then find a really good home for it.
See. Well, you're used to these big stages. You've won the world champion barrel racing.
You know, I have a theory about that.
What?
Because growing up, like, I feel like it's the same feeling as going to that rodeo arena, like performing, but you're not worried about the crowd, but you're worried about your performance.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like that's transferred over, like
In the music?
In the music, I'm rarely worried about the crowd, but I'm so worried about my performance, you know, which I feel like I'm like, oh, that's a good way to think, you know, but sometimes that's perfectionism.
I can see how that translates over. So we talked about Hail Mary, and we're going to have you play that here soon.
Yeah.
But how did you what was the transition like from the barrel racing rodeo world to the music world? I mean, what made you want to even do that in the first place?
Well, so I didn't grow up like with anyone playing music in my family. So I still kind of, sometimes I'll jam with musicians, and I'm just like, I didn't get to do this, you know, with my family growing up, and I just eat it up. But the transition, it was actually and along the lines of what I just said, you know, just it set me up, I feel like, to have a lot, you know, to be an artist or to be in the music business, because it's late nights. Like, I wasn't one of those kids that had like a sleep schedule. And my parents were like proud of it. They're like, oh, we don't put our kids to bed at 8.
Explain that. Tell me more about that.
Yeah,
what was your life like?
Well, okay, so like every Friday and Saturday, which it was on the weekends, on school nights, like, yeah, we had to go to bed at a decent time. And I hated going to bed. I've been a night owl since the day I was born. But yeah, so pretty much every weekend, we would be gone rodeoing somewhere. And like a lot of times, being that close to Texas, like a lot of times it wasn't necessarily a whole lot of traveling. It was close to home. But then, like, we went to like nationals one year, was in New Mexico. So it's just like my poor dad just like drove and drove and drove and drove. And the second he could teach me how to drive a horse trailer, he did. Because he's like, just, you know, a lot of driving. And it's like something you don't realize, like when you sign up to rodeo, like you're like, well, I didn't realize like I was gonna be driving this much. I have to like driving too. And I feel like it's the same thing with music. It's like nobody tells you how much you have to drive. You better really like that too. Yeah. You better really like packing and unpacking. You know, it's an important part of being in the music business. But you know, it's like a whole bunch of late nights, a whole bunch of like, you just never know how long the rodeo is gonna last. So if there's 400 barrel racers. But
you become friends with them. They become like your family, right?
Yeah.
Because everybody travels to the same place every week.
Yeah, you see the same people pretty much every weekend. Yeah, it was like very wholesome too. I mean, I know people were like drinking beer in their trailer, but I don't remember seeing anybody like, you know, throwing down. It was like just very family friendly. And, you know, a lot of times we'd be going home at like 2 a.m, eating Waffle House, and I didn't realize I was the only sober one there. You know? It's like rolling up at Waffle House at 2 a.m. after a rodeo on a Friday night, like just the Neals and a bunch of drunks, you know, trying to get sober. So
it's highly competitive, though, but there's your friends.
Yeah.
So
healthy competition.
How is that like the music business? Because music business is definitely competitive, but we live in Nashville. You get pretenders. You get people that pretend like they are your friend, and they'll turn around and talk right about you to somebody else as soon as they turn around.
Yeah.
So you know when you find you're the right people, and you know they're you call them family. Is that similar to?
It definitely is. I mean, I feel like that's human nature too.
Yeah. Like
with anything. But I mean, don't get me wrong. There's some drama. You're talking about a bunch of barrel racers. Like there's some drama that goes on. But I mean, I'm the type of person like I try to stay out of it anyway. So I think maybe I avoided a lot of it. Just being happy-go-lucky, goofy.
Well, you are. You're that way. And you're not the drama kind of.
Yeah, and so, like, oh, don't get me wrong. If there's a post on Facebook, I'm like, let me see. Like, let me look at these comments, somebody else's drama. But, so there is, but, like, it's a really good atmosphere, like, as far as competition goes, because, like, when you go into that arena, you have people saying, yeah, go. Like, they want you to make the best run you can possibly make. Maybe unless they're winning and they're like, please don't be fast, but don't be like, don't be that fast.
Beat everybody except me.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, like, it's just healthy competition, And I rodeoed with my sisters, and that was the other thing. Like, we just never. I wanted my sister to have the best run she could possibly have, and sometimes we would share horses, because you got to fit the horse to the rider, and so sometimes it's like, hey, you get on that one and see if you ride it better than I do, and if she does, I'm like, yeah, good, then go win, and so I think, like, that's something I really maybe resent is like a stronger word, but resent about the music business is the unhealthy competition that comes from it, because I love competition. I love it. Feed off of it.
Yeah.
But it's okay to compete with yourself.
Yeah.
Like, do that first.
I mean, I'm the same way. I love being competitive. I got a competitive spirit. Our dad instilled that in us.
Yeah.
Because, just anything we did as kids, he wanted us to do the best we could be. But, it's hard to be that way when I'm also a cheer. I love to see my friends do good.
Yeah.
I love celebrating my friends when they do something fantastic. So
I feel like that's probably a personality type, because we're probably actually, not to get weird and talk about Enneagram stuff, but like, we're probably the same Enneagram, because I can relate to that so much. It's a rabbit hole I'll totally go down.
Well,
I just, like, really don't understand myself sometimes, and so I have to be like, someone explain me to me. That would be great.
I was just at the farm yesterday talking about these personality traits. When we get done tonight, I'll tell you about this. You brought a book.
I did.
Too, and I got a book I want to tell you about.
Oh, yeah.
I hadn't read it yet, but Brenda showed it to me yesterday, and it's about the exact same thing. But
I know people are probably like, would you stop talking about that big magic book? Because I'm like, read it. And then I get very adamant, because I know people are like, okay, I'll read that book. I'm like, read it, please.
So let's do this. I know y'all probably want to hear some songs, so let's do a song.
Okay.
Let's do. We talked about it already. The first time I met you, I heard Hail Mary for the first time.
Yep.
Let's play that one.
Okay.
And then
cool.
we'll talk about another subject.
Yeah. I want to hear your side of, like, when you heard me play Hail Mary, like, your reaction to it.
Okay. So you know set it up and tell everybody.
Yeah.
So let's deconstruct this.
So, okay, this is really funny because this is, like, I think, classic entertainer tactics. Because when I normally sing this song out live, I'm like, well, is there anybody named Mary in here? Okay, no, good. That would be, like, a really small crowd. I'm like, ooh, really small crowd. A niece named Mary? Okay, so I'm sure she's great, and this song's not about her. Apologize ahead of time to your niece. So normally I kind of set it up that way.
Right.
And you've heard me do it 1,000 times, and I'm like, well, I met this Mary one time, and I didn't like her, and I wrote a song about her. And the funny thing about that is I have not met a Mary. I've met a Mary, but not her name wasn't Mary.
I got you. Not the Mary.
Right, and so the real way. But I like to make people laugh, and that really makes people laugh, just to be like, is anybody named Mary? Oh, well, I don't know. It's like acting.
Yeah.
And telling this song the way I wrote it, like, just doesn't make people laugh. So I'll tell the story of how I actually wrote the song.
Absolutely.
This is what Deconstructed is all about.
That's right.
So I walked into the room that day. I was writing with Terry Sawchuk and Jen Stegall, and I've loved them both. They wrote my very first single that I released after like 6 years, called Over You as well. And Terry had this idea called Hail Mary, and it was like living life like you're, throwing a Hail Mary. And me being like the goofball that I am, I think I might have been hungover that day. And the thing about me writing, I always I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I did this to myself. Like a handful of times I've, stayed out too late on a Sunday or something. And Monday morning hurts. And like I tend to write cool songs when I'm hungover. I don't know. I'm not trying to make that a thing. It's like maybe like the one thing I won't do to write a hit song is intentionally be hungover. I don't know. So I walk in and he said that idea, and I was just thinking to myself, it's such a beautiful idea, but like I know that I cannot be that serious today. Like it felt like climbing a mountain. And I just was like, you can go to hell, Mary.
I can see you saying that.
And, just like that. And I kind of laughed. And then I kind of was like, and I looked at Jen. She was sitting by me. And we kind of were like, oh. And then Terry was working on a track. And then he kind of stopped. And then we just kind of started like, that melody came out right off the top. And it was the easiest chorus like I've ever written. And I think the whole song was written in like less than 2 hours. But it's just a funny song, and it hasn't offended anyone from that I know yet, except I sang it one time and I looked out in the crowd and I'm like halfway into the song and I see a couple from the church I grew up in the crowd, and I was like, oh my gosh. And they were laughing so hard. They were cracking up, and I was like, you know what? I don't care who gets offended as long as they didn't. So anyway, this one's called Hail Mary. Dang, it's a shame that your mama gave you that name. You ain't no saint.
You ain't no saint.
Yeah, you're pressing your luck when you're dialing him up. And you know what I think. For goodness sake, you can go to hell, Mary. You think you're hot, but you're not. Joking, must be some good stuff that you're smoking. 'Cause you gotta be hot, I think you get with my guy. Are you sure your name ain't Mary Jane? You can go to hell, Mary. You think you're hot, but you're not very. If you look up hoes in the dictionary, there's a picture of you. If you don't leave my man alone, Mary, I'm gonna do what's necessary. You might wind up in a cemetery. You can go to hell, Mary. You can go to hell, Mary. Yeah. Mary's fault. Stop, drop, and roll on. Work when you go. Stop, drop, and roll on. Work when you go. To hell, Mary. You think you're hot, but you're not very. If you look up hoe in the dictionary, there's a picture of you. If you don't leave him alone, Mary, I'm gonna do what's necessary. You might wind up in the cemetery, a little closer to hell, Mary. You can go to hell, Mary. Yeah. Well, I don't wanna have to yell, Mary. What the hell, Mary? Oh, hell, Mary.
Yeah, I love it.
Oh, thank you.
That's Chancey Neil, y'all.
That one's always fun.
I'm telling y'all.
Talk about an icebreaker for a crowd. Like, if I have a tough crowd, I'm like, all right, got one for you. It's great. People hear ho, and they just laugh so hard.
Well, you expand on that sometimes in your live show.
Oh, yeah, I do. It's a whole thing.
And it works.
Yeah, it's funny. Because sometimes I'll edit depending on the crowd. I'm like, maybe it's not the right crowd to scream ho in a microphone. I don't know. Cause yeah, it's funny.
I just love you. All right, so you gonna do another song, or you gonna jump into something?
Yeah. What do y'all want to hear?
Well, you got.
I'm a people pleaser, so.
You got another song coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Here in just a few weeks.
I do. This is an oldie, but I'm gonna go ahead and take these off because they're gonna end up falling during this song. Wow. Okay. Of all things to happen, that's definitely something I would do. Okay, I got it. There we go.
All right. Yeah, just put them out there. You don't need no.
Cool.
Headphones. So tell me about this song. What's the name of it?
It's called Drunk on That.
Oh, I love this song.
I feel like I'm saving the best for last. I love this song so much. This song has, been on hold and almost been cut, and people come up and be like, that song, like, I want to cut that song, and I'm like, please. And it's just funny, like, I've had, a publishing deal for a really long time, and how, like, a song can die, but also a song can stay alive, too. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, I feel, I've been playing a lot of writers' rounds, and I love playing rounds, but sometimes it's just gets tiring because you don't know what you're going to get into, and, like, they don't pay and whatever, but songwriters rounds have just kept this song alive, and like that they do that for a lot of songs for me, because I still sing songs I wrote when I was 15, and if it's a great song and the crowd reacts to it, I'm gonna keep playing it.
Yeah.
So
I'll go further than that. Sometimes those writing rounds like that can save you.
Yes.
I mean, there was several months this past year where if it wasn't for us putting writers' rounds on or retreats or something, none of us would have been playing music.
Yeah, it's true.
But no, this is one of my favorite songs, and so people that don't know what a song being on hold is, a song being put on hold
or
is
cut. That's another word.
Cut,
yeah.
So as a songwriter, when you write a song, obviously you'd love for artists to cut it, unless you're going to cut it yourself. So when a big artist from a major label decides that they want the song, they put it on what they call hold. Like I say, for y'all that don't know, and what that means is nobody else
stop pitching it.
Stop pitching the song. Now that don't mean that it's going to make their album.
Actually,
we go through that a lot. Sometimes songs being put on hold. You get excited about it, and you're calling mama, and you're, oh my gosh, guess we put this song on hold, and then 2 months later you're like,
I know. And my dad's like, did you ever hear from Kelly Clarkson? And I'm like, no, I didn't. And it's like for 2 years after that, like, whatever happened with that such and such song?
I think my mama just gave up on me. She, I'll call her and celebrate the song being put on hold, but she'll never say nothing else about it.
She's like,
she knows.
Okay.
But there's gonna come a day,
where
she won't have to ask me.
That's right.
I'll tell her. But so this one was put on hold several times. You kept it alive at writers' rounds, and who decided it was going to be your next single? It's a great song. I'm proud of it.
I kind of think just the way I recorded an EP, and so it was 5 songs. EP is like basically a mini record, so 5 songs, and this was just one. I was like, this one's going to be on there, and then I'd also written one by myself, and so it was just like a compilation of songs that it meant something for me to like give them a chance to be heard. And I had like just really good people encouraging me, being like, you need to put this out. Like, people will love this, So really this song, but go just for the me dying to put this song out into the world. It was written 8 years ago.
So is Kelly Clarkson who put it on hold?
No, it wasn't Kelly. It was Leanne Womack, which I normally don't say names,
Right.
but
Well, I asked.
yeah,
So.
you asked, so
Well, let's hear it.
yeah, it's called Drunk on That.
I love it.
Can I take some time to tune this real fast since I put the capo on?
We'll do a commercial break right here. This portion of our program is being brought to you by Real Music Nashville and Mitchell Ray. We're a man down tonight. Cannon's out, but Cannon, we're thinking about you.
Oh, Cannon.
He's in the studio.
PCD.
You know, he works at the studio now, Round Room.
Oh, okay, awesome.
So he's working late tonight. U.S. Towboats, friends of ours from Lake Martin. Remember the Pace Place?
Yep.
Well, they introduced us to some other friends, whose name is Chad and his wife, Gillilan.
Yeah.
And they became a sponsor of the show.
They were part of the show we played.
Yes,
yeah.
Yep, sure was.
That was they're awesome. I got to meet them. They're great people.
And so now that spring has come and it's boat season again, they've been extremely busy. I hadn't even talked to them in probably a month now.
Yeah.
Which is good because that means business is good for them. So I'm happy with that. But anyway,
Heck
you
yeah.
tuned up, ready to go?
All right, I'm tuned up and ready to go.
Drunk on that, Chancey Neil.
Drunk on that. Vinyl records, pops and cracks. Keith Whitley singing something sad, yeah. Well, I could get drunk on sandy beaches, riverbanks, bar stools and drop tailgates, yeah. Well, I could get drunk on that. There's a whole lot of places, a whole lot of things that make me wanna kick back, have a couple drinks. But if I really wanna take it too far, I just think about how you broke my heart and you ain't coming back. Well, I could get drunk on that. Broken promises, packed up bags, red wine and old photographs, tears falling, a diamond ring. Now what am I supposed to do with this thing? Well, I could get drunk on that. There's a whole lot of places, a whole lot of things that make me wanna kick back, have a couple drinks. But if I really wanna take it too far, I just think about how you broke my heart and you ain't coming back. Well, I could get drunk on that. Ooh, ooh. Seeing you out with somebody new. Well, I used to be her, and she ain't got a clue what we used to have. Well, I could get drunk on that. Yeah, there's a whole lot of places, a whole lot of things that make me wanna kick back, have a few drinks. But if I really wanna take it too far, I'll just sit right here and let you break my heart. 'Cause you ain't coming back. I could get drunk on that. No, you ain't coming back. I could get drunk on that.
Beautiful.
Little drinking song.
I love it. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
I have a funny story about that song.
Let's hear it.
In the in the chorus it goes, whole lot of places, whole lot of things make me want to kick back and have a couple drinks. Well, in the last chorus I say, make me want to kick back and have a few drinks. Well, a lot of times, like, friends will sing background vocals, and it happens, like, every time. They think I'm going to do couple again, and they say, and I say few. Well, the combination of, like, few and couple sounds like a expletive. like really big time.
Okay,
Like,
yeah.
and anyway, so I always, like, make sure, like, if they're singing background vocals, I won't switch that line. Anyway. Because I will cry. I'm not worried about somebody thinking,
Only
and
you.
have a effing drink. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah. Only you.
Oh, it just makes me laugh, and I don't want to, like, laugh in the very last chorus. It's, like, gut-wrenching, and I'm over there like, you just almost said the F word in the microphone. Yeah, only me.
Well, let me back up. Now that we've heard a couple
Okay.
songs, back up. We was talking about the transition into music. You didn't have a family that played.
Mm-hmm.
How did you even learn how to play guitar? And when did you move to Nashville?
So I was 12 years old. My family took a vacation to Gatlinburg, and on the way back, they kind of went out of the way to Chattanooga to see Lookout Mountain. When we got to Lookout Mountain, there was a girl on top of up there. I need to figure out how to play that gig also, because apparently they have music up there. I'm just saying. It just hit me. Anyway, she was playing music, and she was playing original songs. And I had never heard, like, someone play original songs in my hometown with a guitar, and it was a girl that was, like, in her teens. She was probably 17 or 18.
And you was 12, right?
And I was 12,
Okay.
yeah. And I was just fascinated. And prior, when I was about 8, we have a family member who is a great musician, great guitar player, piano player. He's like, it's through marriage.
Okay.
And we had always heard he could play guitar well. And so my parents had tried to give me guitar lessons when I was like 8, and it just didn't. I was just so ADD. Like, I'm still a little bit, but I could just, my brain wasn't ready. But I'd had, like, a guitar in my hand before, and so when I saw someone else doing it, I've liked to be the center of attention sometimes, and I was like, I want to do that.
Well,
like, everyone's watching her. I think she is the coolest girl ever, and I wouldn't let my parents leave. And so the whole way home, I'm like, I want guitar lessons. And my dad, he told me later on, he was like, I made sure that you kept asking before. I didn't just jump, and go buy you a guitar or whatever. I wanted you to, like, really want it. And it's really weird. Like, I don't learn stuff this fast now, but I started taking lessons we took the trip in July. September was when I started taking lessons. My older sister's 18th birthday was October 28th. And that was the first time I ever got on stage and played a song. And I played 4 songs. And I was a nervous wreck. I did not have a good time at the party at all. And I wanted to back out. And then once I got up there, I was only going to do 1, and I played 4. But looking back on it, I'd only been playing guitar for a month, and had, like, put together chords, and it makes me want, just thinking about, it was just something that, like, I would think I was meant to do, and it makes me want to, like, pick up more instruments and try to play them. But
Have you ever tried?
I took piano lessons and, like, got to where I could play. My hands are, like, really tiny, so it's not the greatest instrument for a short person. Which that's probably, I'm sure there's, like, someone with tinier hands than I am that's an incredible piano player. But Yeah, I was picking it up. The thing with piano that I couldn't put together, I really don't like this quality about me, but I'm not a practicer. So I learn a lot on this by playing, like, going on writer's retreats and jamming, but I'm not good about picking it up just by myself and practicing and getting better.
Yeah.
I wish I was better at that. And so with the piano, like, it's not an instrument you just carry around with you in social situations.
So you're not around a lot.
Yeah, and so it just wasn't as accessible, with the way my mind works. But that's a big fat excuse. I need to buckle down and learn how to play it.
I do feel you on the songwriting, though.
Yeah.
I'm total opposite. My mom played the piano every night.
Mm-hmm.
I'd sit with her at the piano, for an hour every night while she played. And then when she'd get up from playing, I'd sit there for another hour and try to mimic everything she just did.
Yeah.
She learned to play by ear. That's how I learned to play.
Yeah.
Listening to her. I mean, it just amazed me that she could listen to something
and pick it out like that.
And in just a second, she could have it picked out when it does. I mean,
that's awesome. I feel like with melodies too, it's such a beneficial instrument to write with, because you can all the melodies are laid out in front of you. It's just putting them together.
That's true.
All the notes are right there. Like on a guitar, they're not in a line.
That's a great way of putting that.
Yeah.
Anthony, I was in Montana this past week, and I wrote with one of my heroes, Anthony Smith.
Yeah.
His approach is almost just like you just said. It's right there in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
You just got to put it together. His approach is, once the melody is established, all we got to do is fill in blanks.
Right.
Let your imagination. I can't remember how he said it, but his writing style is so unique, because you and I are similar. Well, I don't know. We've never written a song, so I don't know what kind of writing style
that's funny.
we got. But he lets one line take, direct the next line.
Okay, yeah.
So you don't start with a hook.
Oh, interesting.
You start with one line, the first line of the song, and you let that line dictate what the next line is going to be.
That's different. I feel like that works for a lot of people. Like, I've heard there are so many different writing styles, and that works for a lot of people. And I haven't tried it with that mindset of like lead from line to line, but I feel like I've written an amazing verse. Yeah. And I'll like write myself into it, and I'm like, so what's the song about? Like, I don't know,
See, I don't trust myself enough to do that.
I think that's more of what it is.
Talking about ADD, if I don't have something to write toward, then who knows where I'm gonna take it? I mean, I could be riding a hot air balloon or something.
Yeah, think about like Rocket Man though.
Yeah.
That song was not written. Let's write a song about. I have a title called Rocket Man. If I brought that in Nashville, they'd be like, I don't want to write no song about an astronaut. Like,
It's ironic. I wrote with Royal Lynn today.
Oh, yeah, she's great.
Her new single is called Rocket Man.
Oh, well, there you go. But she probably has a hook, though. She probably has a hook, like a Nashville hook.
Right. She wrote it the way we would probably write it.
Right, yeah. I feel like an asshole now.
No.
I meant it more of like Elton John's Rocket Man,
Right.
If I know her, like that girl's got some really cool ideas.
She does.
Yeah.
It's my first time writing with her, so you have to learn somebody.
Yes.
To get, just like with Anthony, you have to learn. That style is so foreign to me. I've always been taught. My whole life,
around a hook, right? It's about
and just like you, and just like you though, growing up, there was no original music. Mm-hmm. What's so funny? Our hometown in Alabama, a little small town, Alexander City. So many great musicians have come out of my hometown. The reason they're not known is because they was great at duplicating.
Right.
We have some of the most famous cover bands ever that come from my hometown.
Yeah.
Blind Man's Buddy. When I was in high school, coming out of high school, I'd go on road with them. I just asked them, just let me come with y'all. Just you ain't got to pay me or nothing. I just want to come and experience.
Just want to hang out, yeah.
And they would go do these cover shows, but they would rock the place out. And you could tell that there's so much talent on stage.
Yeah.
But as far as being original and songwriting, that was completely
foreign.
new to me when I moved to Nashville. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why I didn't last long when I first moved here, because I didn't know that.
Yeah, like the original. I don't know what drove me to write a song when I was 12. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if I was a big Michelle Branch fan, and I knew she wrote a lot. Like, that Wreckers album is like some of my like ground roots inspiration, and
Yeah.
also like Britney Spears. But
Well, it's just something.
hey, that tape was great.
Well, it ain't something that you care. Like Travis Tritt, one of my heroes. I didn't know that he wrote his music until later on.
One of the most underrated
Yes.
songwriters in Nashville, I think, is Toby Keith.
Absolutely.
When I look at some of the credits, he wrote a lot of that stuff by himself.
Yeah.
I mean,
And that's very rare.
yeah.
These days, it's complete. I don't even know if that happens anymore.
Yeah, it really, it doesn't a whole lot.
Travis Tritt, same thing.
I struggle writing alone,
you know,
for sure.
Clint Black. A lot of those guys that, when we were growing up that we listened to, they were true artists. They wrote. But the thing is, when you grow up, like I was saying, in our hometown, I didn't learn about originality or how to write a song. Nobody taught me that.
Mm-hmm.
You're somebody big if you go out and play Leonard Skinner, Sweet Home Alabama, like it's supposed to sound.
Right, yeah.
You're a hero. All right, so you wrote your first song at 12, and then, so you moved to Nashville when?
When I was 15,
Okay.
it was just, I met some really random contacts who had been in Nashville in the past. So, guy who taught me how to play guitar is named Kenny Bill Stinson, and he is like a legend in North Louisiana. Just like, he had played with like Jerry Lee Lewis, and he has like some crazy stories about Jerry Lee, and just like he's a great guitar player, like super soulful. So he taught me how to play, and just by ear, like I would pick out a song. I think that's how I learned so easy. But he would tell me to pick a song that week, and I would pick, and it helped me listen to music too. I would pick my favorite song, and then he'd come over and teach it to me, and then we'd jam, and so that kind of progressed. I immediately started playing shows, like doing gigs. My dad's like a huge music lover. I mean, he cannot sit still during music. He loves to dance. And I've realized that, like, the older I get, that, like, that's rare, and, like, how much he loves music. And I'm like, that's awesome. Like, thank you for passing that down to me, And he was just, like, telling everyone that I played and, trying to get me gigs. And I was nervous a lot. I wouldn't say that, like, I looked forward to playing, though, because I was just I was nervous, and, like, I didn't have, like, I didn't always know how to connect with the crowd, and it's just funny. I mean, this is a whole nother story about, like, how that's changed.
Oh, that's changed
over years.
That is just
yeah,
changed.
it has.
I'm a testament to that. I see
like
it. You connect with your audiences now, like, it's so cool to watch.
I have not always been confident about that, and I really appreciate that compliment.
Mm-hmm.
I think, like, some of that comes from just playing really crappy gigs too, and I'm just like, I'm not the type of person that gets mad about that stuff. Obviously, it doesn't feel great it's awkward, but, like, I don't get mad at the crowd. I just find a way. I'm like, how do I get them engaged? So anyway, back to the story. Kept writing, found some, like, really random contacts in North Louisiana that had Nashville roots. So I ended up taking guitar lessons from another guy in North Louisiana, and his name was Richard McLean, and he really, like, helped me. It was just a different style of lesson, and I think that's kind of something important too. Like, I think a lot of people stay with the same guitar teacher, even if they're kids, and people play so differently. It was nice to be taught by someone with a different perspective than how I'd learned.
Mm-hmm.
And so he knew a guy named Phil O'Donnell in town, and Richard had previously lived in Nashville and was like a studio musician, and then he had moved back to my hometown. That was one contact. Another one was Shea Smith, who I believe it was her aunt that went to church with my family, and Shea has had like 6 number ones, some like incredible, like Single White Female, so complicated, so frustrated, a bunch of Colin Ray stuff, like great. That was my first co-write with Shea.
So you dove right in.
Yeah, I did, and I had no idea. I didn't know. Like, I was just, my parents were supportive, and I could play guitar and had written some songs that, like, weren't that great. But at a young age, I do remember kind of having, like, an intuition about, like, that rhymes, but it sounds like I'm trying too hard to rhyme. There's an intuition about it.
Yeah. Okay.
So, kind of like compiled that list. I grew up in North Louisiana, so Duck Dynasty, that's where they're from. Grew up going to church with all the Robertsons. See, this is a whole nother story.
You're like the Forrest Gump of...
When he said, this is going to be an hour, and I was like, good luck. And you're going to play 4 songs. I'm like, you could just tell me to play 4 songs, and my talking alone, I'd take it an hour. Yeah, so the Robertsons are from where I'm from. My dad was a custom home builder, built a lot of their, like, houses, and just, like, Miss K threw me my baby shower. Like, my mom, her baby shower for me. And it's like we go way back. So Willie knew Luke from Buck Commander.
Okay, talking about Luke Bryant.
Yeah, Luke Bryan. So Luke was a big duck hunter and had always been a fan of Phil Robertson, like the original, like, Duck Commander, because they were famous in the hunting world before Duck Dynasty ever came out. So Luke was a fan of Phil's. Willie and him got to be friends, and so Willie at one point actually was like wanted to manage me. Like this was before Duck Dynasty came out. This was when they had like their outdoor channel.
But that would have been something to see.
I could probably find that contract somewhere in my email. It was just funny, just like some small town stuff, And so Willie introduced me to Luke, and I met Luke. Had not been to Nashville at this point. Had just talked about it and was scared. Like, my parents were scared to death of Nashville because anyone, like, my guitar teacher would be like, don't go to Nashville. It's evil. Like the first one, not the second one. And so we were scared. Like, my dad had a talk with me before we went the first time, and he was like, I'm just letting you know, like, I was 14, I think, 14 or 15, 14. He was like, I'm just letting you know, like, don't expect that it's going to be, like, great or whatever. He was like, this is the real world. Like, we don't know what to expect. Like, don't let it get to you, And so it makes me kind of teary-eyed to repeat that.
Yeah.
So I met Luke. That conversation was after I met Luke, because Luke was the one who was like, you need to come to Nashville. He looked at his calendar on the bus the night I'd met him, and Dallas Davidson was on the bus that night. Cole Swindell was also on the bus. Cole was the merch guy at the time. So Luke looks at his calendar. I'd been like jamming with these guys, like playing. Luke had played. Now they've been number ones. At the time.
Yeah.
No one had heard them, And he looks at his calendar, says, well, I'll be in town this weekend and this weekend, and we plan the trip in like 2 weeks from then.
Oh, wow. So he was really jumping in.
Yeah. Well, it was already kind of like one of those things, like, again, my parents were super supportive. Like, my dad, when he does something, he goes all in. Like, he doesn't do anything halfway. Like, you would have to see some of the stuff he builds. So that's kind of, and I appreciate that so much because I was just a kid and I wanted to do it. I loved it, you know, but I also had that mindset. I grew up in rodeo. I won the world championship. Like, yeah, let's do it. I want to be, you know, I didn't want to be famous. I was just like, I want to be the best at this I can possibly be, and I want to do as much as I can do it, you know. So took a trip and compiled kind of those contacts that someone such and such said they knew in Nashville, and they met with me. And, like, I made contacts from that. That's hard to do. Like, I have trouble doing that now.
Yeah.
And these were people like Shea Smith who agreed to write with me when I was 14. And it wasn't because I had great songs. It wasn't because I sounded great. I found some home videos a few months ago, and I was like, oh, my gosh. Oh. I don't know why, you know. It's crazy. And then Phil O'Donnell ended up producing my first project. And he was also producing Mo Pitney at the time.
I love
Craig
Mo.
Morgan. I know. I got to meet Mo like when he was kind of first coming to town, and always been a good dude. So I made like a project, like and it was a full album. So I had been playing shows back home, and I made this project, and it came together well because I had kind of built a fan base without really knowing what I was doing. You know, I was just playing shows, and I wasn't getting paid. I was playing for tips because honestly, my dad selfishly just wanted me to play for people, you know. I'll never forget, our farrier was out one day, and I just had the bug so much, and I made him stop, like, working. I was like, and played him a song. And I, like, brought my guitar out there with the horse getting trimmed. And I'm like, listen to this song I just wrote, you know?
Do you miss that?
I miss it.
You miss that passion of that, you know?
I feel like I have a better passion for it.
Do you?
now.
Oh, good.
Because it was so, I would get nervous, you know? And I remember just, like, in my mind feeling like I didn't want to do it because because it was a lot of pressure for a 14-year-old, you know. But, like, wanting to it's real hard to explain. Like, really wanting to want to do it, but, like, kind of wanting to find a way out of it because it was scary. And it would always, like, go pretty well. But, like, even now, like, think of, like, playing a solo gig. Like, it's not real easy to sit there and, you know, you have to kind of get your mind in the right place.
Yeah.
To sit there for a long time by yourself, and, like, it's more fun when you have someone to vibe off on stage with.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's not easy at all.
Yeah. So I remember, like, trying to, like, tell myself that, like, I was trying to, like, fake it to myself that you really love to do this, and I did, but the nerves just, like, made it feel like a whole lot of work. And so the older I got, like, I don't know, I freaking love it now. So I miss being naive.
Yeah.
But I feel like they go hand in hand. Like, the naivety of it, and then maybe, like, not really finding out how much you love it yet. And passion and confidence, you know, it's like you don't want to be confident at that
So if you had to give up
age.
either performing or writing songs, which one would you give up? That's hard.
Yeah, that one's tough.
And the reason I ask, because
That's a good
there's
question.
something about performing.
You know, here's the deal. I've done the only writing thing, and I really love how many shows I'm playing now. So I think if I have to play covers for the rest of my life, I'll just find a way to make the covers kind of like my own thing, you know?
You know, there's just something about being in front of people, making them feel what you feel.
Yeah.
That you can't get nothing from anything or buy anything else. You know?
I'm more confident in my performing, I think, than my writing.
Are you?
Yeah. I'm
that's
so critical of my writing.
Well, there's no doubt. I think you're a great performer, but I'm not saying that you're wrong, but I do believe in your songwriting. I mean, it's very. The first song was "Sitting by the Fire" by Pace Place, and you played a song called "Flowers Can't fix. And I know I wasn't the only one, because I remember there was my brother, and there was probably 3 or 4 people that hadn't never heard you before that was around that fire. And when you play that song, we all had to get up and you know how we do when a good song, you start hollering, you know. I mean,
songwriter.
Yeah, no, that's blue for you. But God, it was just such a great song. Some of the lines you put in there. Would you mind playing that?
Yeah, heck yeah. This is kind of part of that journey, like, and I don't know. It's not that when I look at it and I don't like let my head and my thoughts get in the way, which that book has helped me like figure out kind of like how our minds as creative people are supposed to work.
Mm-hmm.
So if you feel this way, like, yeah, you do, because we all do that, you know. And so just my confidence in writing, that's why I wrote this song by myself, because I go through stages. So like I had a great weekend. I wrote 3 songs in one day, and I was like, I needed this, because prior I had a couple weeks where I wasn't writing like my favorite songs, you know, that like songs I necessarily wanted to play out, or just songs that beat what I already play out. That's where it gets hard.
That's the name of the game, though.
Yeah, it's like you're trying to write something better than what you've already written, and I'm like, that's hard for me to do.
And and we don't have to.
We don't.
That's pressure we put on ourselves.
100%.
A good song should stand on its own.
Yeah.
Nothing should compare to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel what you're saying.
And I just feel like, you know, I think in my mind, I'm like, forget that I'm a human and that it's okay to not have a great day in the writing room, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
But I really like when people like see me as a great writer, because it's like intelligence or something. I don't know. I like being perceived as that. And so if I'm having a day in a writing room where maybe I'm not helping a whole lot, like I really don't want that writer to go back and be like, I don't know how she has I guess her co-writers are, you know, helping her write the songs. And so it's just the silliest stuff. But
I think the validation is because you create something out of nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, you go into a writing room, even on a bad day, you go into a writing room with just an idea.
Yeah.
And that idea, there's no substance there. There's no mass. I mean, it's just the electrical discharge in your head, and it can turn into a song that makes, you know, that's the part of songwriting that I love.
Well, also, you're telling you're creating a movie and a whole storyline in 3 minutes. Like, how many people, you know, only songs do that. Like, it's a pretty crazy thing. Well, along those lines of just being hard on myself, and your internal dialogue's so important, and it's something I always work on.
Can you believe there's people that don't have that?
Internal.
Yes.
Right.
I mean,
you not believe that?
How does that even happen? How does those people live?
I don't even understand. I can't even have a conversation about it, because I'm having internal dialogue about them not having internal dialogue.
Right.
Like,
I don't understand it.
I wonder how many, because that's part of when I tell this story, I talk about internal dialogue. I wonder how many people are like, oh, I won't be able to relate to it.
Well, before you play, so your internal dialogue, is it your voice that you hear?
Oh. No, I don't. It doesn't really have a voice.
I don't think. Well, mine does, but it's not me.
It's just thought. Like, it's just thoughts. It's not really like something. Do you have voices in your head?
Oh, we have a committee meeting every morning.
He's actually hearing voices over here. They have
multiple
sounds.
Voices.
I guess it would be my voice if. Oh well, it changes.
I guess it does. Well, hey.
And now it's official. We're all cuckoo.
Well, let's do a song, and then I'm gonna have maybe somebody here, a few people might want to talk, ask some questions.
Ask some questions. Ooh, yeah, that's fun.
And then exciting. I'm gonna have to get me some more of your wine.
Yeah, I know. I have short arms, and so also I'm talking.
All right,
I do this on stage too.
This is one of my favorite songs that you've written.
Flowers Can't Fix. I wrote it by myself because I was letting those kind of thoughts get in my head, and I just knew like that would fix it. I'm like, if I could write a song by myself, I'll prove to myself that I am a songwriter. I had done it before when I first started writing, but just you co-write. That's just how you do in Nashville. And so I kind of wanted to set myself apart, you know, and I wrote this song. It's called Flowers Can't Fix. You show up, flowers in your hand, and I see a boy, I want a man. Every time you bring those damn things, you think it's easy. But when are you gonna see that some things flowers can't fix? And I'm tired of sleeping in your bed of roses. This time I won't give in, get the short end of a long stem, and it don't matter how hard I try. Some things flowers can't fix.
Ooh, that's so good.
I wish they didn't make me wanna fall out in love. I wish they weren't sitting there just because we had a fight last night. And I wish there was a way we could make it alright, but some things flowers can't fix. And I'm tired of sleeping in your bed of roses. This time I won't give in, get the short end of a long stem, and it don't matter how hard I try, baby, they're always just gonna die like you and me, and there ain't no magic trick. Some things flowers can fix. Well, if only I could have known that you and I would just end up broken. You know I take it all back. But some things flowers can't fix, and I'm tired of sleeping in your bed of roses. This time I won't give in, get the short end of a long stem, and it don't matter how hard I try, baby, they're always just gonna die like you and me, and there ain't no magic trick. Some things flowers can't fix. Ooh, no. Why, baby, why, baby, why?
That's so good.
Thank you.
My favorite line in that song is "short end of a long stem." God, that's so
I
good.
try to remember like how I came up with that, and I don't even know. You know, it just happened to rhyme. Because this is how I write. I'll write down like ideas. So I'm writing a song about flowers. So I'm like, okay, what are different things you can call flowers? Because you have to say, you're basically saying some things flowers can't fix in 7 different ways, depending on how many lines you're in the song. But you can't use the same word. So it's like a puzzle to me. So I'm like, okay, synonyms for flowers or synonyms for roses, and long stem was one of them. And then I was like, long, short, you do that kind of thing because it's like smart. And I'm like, short end of a long stem. And it rhymed.
You hit it.
It
on
was,
the
and
nail.
it like everyone hears that line, and I'm like, I wish it was just because I was trying to rhyme and I got lucky that rhyme, you know. But
Well, hey,
know.
sometimes lucky's
yeah,
good.
sometimes that's how smart lines come about. Is I'm like, oh, those words go together. What?
I just love your writing. I'm a big fan. So good.
Well, I feel the same way about your writing.
Oh,
I love it, and your
Well, let's-
voice.
let's see what somebody else thinks. Y'all got any questions? Anybody
Questions?
for Chancey?
Okay, I do. There's a lot of talk right now about women in the music industry,
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of talk about women in the music industry.
Yep.
getting enough attention or
Ge-
enough airplay.
Get enough attention and airplay.
No songs being written by women. I'm curious would go into the room thinking I'm writing as a woman
Mhm.
for a woman, performer, or no.
So
I'll be honest.
Let me restate that so
Okay,
people
yeah,
can hear.
yeah. And then
So the question was, how do you feel about writing for other women or being a woman
Mhm.
writer?
in the industry too.
Yeah.
I'll kind of be honest. Like, I don't put a lot of thought into being a woman. I was kind of raised to just be who you are. My dad taught me how to weld when I was 9, so he taught me. He didn't have any boys, so like he didn't say you can't weld. I'm not gonna teach you to weld. Like, you're a 9-year-old girl, And so I think that mindset of just like, well, I don't care. Yeah, there are people I've been in the room with where you can definitely tell that, like, I've also always been like the youngest one up until maybe like the last few years. So I can tell when someone's treating me differently because they think that maybe I'm not as capable as they are. And like, that's a funny thing because I talked about confidence a lot, but the confidence is in here. It's not the way other people, like when other people act like crappy towards me or people, I'm like, that's your problem. That doesn't affect me. And so I don't really put a lot of thought into it. And I've actually gotten along writing with men really well. I write, and I feel like a bunch of people say that. That's changed over the past couple years too, because I think it's just finding the right people.
Yeah. And I'll expand on that just a touch.
Yeah.
Because believe me, I don't know nothing about this. But it seems to me that the best songs make it, whether they was written by a woman or not.
Right.
Now, it might be skewed in a non-woman's favor because there's probably 3 times as more guys writing songs than there is a woman.
Right.
That don't mean that.
And also like published writers too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's 100% an inequality there in the industry. It's gotten a lot better. I was on a writer's retreat this week. It was 9 girls, and first thing we did, like, there was a fiddle player, there was a dobro player, there was a mandolin player, there was a banjo, and like a whole bunch of guitars, and it was just like, this is so cool because all these like great musicians. And then the next day, I went to a jam session, and there was a bunch of guys there. Nothing against guys, but it was just like, I was like, I got another guitar. Like, who wants to like grab a solo? And no one could like play a solo. And it was a bunch of people there. And I was like, I was just with a bunch of girls that could play multiple instruments. It was just a cool experience. So I just feel like there are things that like I can do solely, but like the best thing I can do for me is to try my hardest and to pretend like if they have look at me differently because I'm a woman. Sometimes that happens. Most of the time it doesn't. Then that's their problem, and that's gonna bite them in the butt eventually. So.
Did that answer that?
What's that? Yeah.
Cool. Any more? Anybody else?
So I'm not sure if this is more of a question or a statement, but I'm going to phrase it as a question. I guess it's kind of for both of you, but are you aware of how vital your role is in society as songwriters? Because you capture like moments. I mean, like for those of us who aren't writers, we need music desperately to survive, to cope, to whatever. And I don't know if you ever see your role as so vital to every human, and you are like taking parts of everybody's lives and putting them into songs, like you said, in three minutes,
Right.
And writing a whole movie or a whole story. And I don't know, I think sometimes you guys just, you do what you do because you're supposed to do it and you're called to do it.
Right.
But do you ever like realize that you are like carrying like humanity on your shoulders sometimes?
That's a really beautiful way of wording that.
Great question.
I guess I'll go first. I have moments, and I think that's why I love playing out so much, is because it's the whole process for me. I love writing, but there was like a good chunk of years that I was doing a whole bunch of writing and not a lot of playing shows out, and I was missing something. And so getting to connect with people and seeing that, how much people need music, I think COVID has really opened like a lot of our eyes on both ends of like how important music is. But I mean, on the flip side of that, for the most part, I'm just so passionate about music that I'm driven by that. And then I've gone through stages to where like I'm driven to like please a publisher or please a crowd or please a manager or something. And so it was really healthy for me to make music for me, for, as far as the making music process. And then it's full circle getting to play those shows and other people, being like, oh, I knew him. Somebody said at that Lake Martin show when I played Hail Mary, he was like, her name was Mary and she was just like that. He was like, you like wrote, and I could tell. I was like, he needed to hear that song. It spoke to him so much. And it's just a funny song, but yeah. What's your take on that, Jad?
Oh, I think what we do is very, very important.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it's something we should take lightly. If you remember, for our retreat in Lake Martin, I sent all the writers that was coming down, I sent a letter out to everybody saying, we have the power to change lives.
Mm-hmm.
We create songs, we create these words, and these words, can affect people in good or bad ways.
Mm-hmm.
So let's at least be intentional about doing it, at least in good,
Right.
But to answer that question, though, I'd have to answer it like this. I don't write for that, though. I write because it's what cures my
Mm-hmm.
pain. But we're all connected. Somebody said this once.
Because you can't live without it either. Just as much as a listener can't live without
Right.
it.
I
You
can't
can't either. Yeah.
So
same.
if I can do something and write something that somebody else can understand the emotions and the feelings,
Mm-hmm.
then that's great. I didn't set out to do that. I set out for myself. And I guess you could set out to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess my point is this: we're all connected, and we it's so easy to forget that. And I believe the songwriter is most important, because the songwriter is what reminds us that we're all connected.
Yes. 100%.
It's a great responsibility, but it's also a great reward.
I mean, I love the way you phrased it, because maybe I'll be more intentional about it now, because when moments like that come along, like I've been more intentional about appreciating the little things, because I said this earlier, I was raised to just dream so big and that anything was possible, that sometimes like my goals and dreams were so big that I wasn't appreciating like the steps, even though, oh, this is cool, and appreciating it, but like really like intentionally celebrating being able to go on a writer's retreat. There's so many writers who have never gone on a writer's retreat. And yeah, we enjoy it, but that's a win. Like, being able to write a song on 16th Avenue and look out the window and be like, that's 16th Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
People don't get to do that. Like, people dream about that their whole life and have no idea how to start, and it's at our fingertips. And yeah, so I think I'll be more intentional about like realizing the weight that's on our shoulders.
Yeah.
Because I live for a purpose, it's my personality.
Wow. This is so.
We've
It's
been
been so much
talking a
fun.
lot, right?
I'm telling you, we could go all night long. But I knew that we could, because that's what
Yeah.
you and I do.
I know. I love it.
That's a great question, though. Let's do another question, and then maybe do one more song, and then we'll wrap it up. I know we can't keep people all night, but gosh, it has been fun.
I know it has. This is awesome.
So
This is like one of the more, like, I've gotten to expand on stuff, and they're usually like pretty rushed when I do podcasts.
well, so we've talked about where you're from and everything, but so I want to get everybody up to date now.
Okay.
What are you doing now, and all that good stuff. But let me see if there's any more questions
Okay.
first. Anybody else?
Cool.
Any online, maybe?
Nothing in the chat right now. Although,
Cool.
Lori Snyder said thank you for sharing your story, so maybe give her a shout out, Lori Snyder.
Oh, thanks, Lori.
Yep.
Yeah, glad to do it.
I mean, I'm gonna have to have you back. We'll have to do part 2,
Oh, for sure.
part 3. Maybe.
I didn't even get to talk about the book.
I know.
It's so good.
So,
put a bow on it, kind of what's going on and everything.
So real quick, you're celebrating because of the stories that you had shared with us about where you're from and how one begat this. So you're on the album of the year.
Yeah, nominated for ACM Album of the Year. So I got to sing background vocals on Luke Bryan's record, on a song called Where Are We Going? And I got to do some, like, it's background vocals, but we call them ad-libs, so it's like oohs and ahs in the background, and I got to actually say a couple words, which was cool. But yeah, I ended up in, like, it wasn't even because of the history I have with him either. I ended up in a parking lot in a studio, and I ran into Brent Cobb, who I'm a huge fan of. I mean, I've always been a fan of his. And he's Grammy-nominated artist, you know, incredible writer, and just, like, unique, too. Like, his perspective on things is great. And so I had known Brent for a while, and I'd written with him a couple times in the past. So I ran into him in the parking lot, and we were catching up, and he was like, well, I just wrote 2 songs with Luke. You want to come in and hear them? And I'm like, yeah. And so I'm in there, and I'm like, this is cool. You know, I'm getting to hear these songs. Little wins. Like, again, like, I've been through such a, like, up and down in my career that, like, there was a moment I wasn't doing anything. No one was asking me to even play writers' rounds. And so I got to where I'm like, I'm going to be intentional about this. So I was really happy I was in there and kind of just singing along. If you know me at all, I'm, like, constantly singing. I'll be in the grocery store just, like, singing about Cheerios, you know, if I'm getting Cheerios. And I've had people think that I'm, like, trying to show off by singing like that. And I'm like, no, my brain just, like, never stops, like, hearing music. They're like, we know you can sing. I'm like, oh, was I singing? Was I singing? I didn't even realize it. I'm sorry. I'll stop now. So get in the studio, start picking up, like, some background vocal, like, a little line, because I'm just singing along with it because I'm feeling it. And he was like, you want to get in there and put backgrounds on it? I'm like, yeah. So get in the studio, and I was nervous. I was like, oh, shoot, I agreed to that, and I'm about to embarrass myself because background vocals oh, my God. It took me forever to learn how to sing backgrounds. It was not easy for me. And it was something that I was, like,
intentional about?
I'm going to say it again. Intentional. Intentional.
It's funny what you do when you're intentional.
It is, yeah. It's like word of the day. So, well, I figured just being on tour with, like, Luke and stuff, when he started doing duets, he had, like, Home Alone Tonight, and being on tour with him, being the only girl, I'm like, he's going to ask me to sing backgrounds or the duet part one day, and I better learn how to sing some background vocals. I will not say no. I'll embarrass myself before I say no. And so I started just, like, forcing myself to learn how. So get in the studio, was nervous because I'm like, oh, I'm not great at this. And it went great. And I kind of had, like, picked out some melodies, just some oohs and ahs. And I was really trying to find, like, where the harmony part was. But I sang a little melody, and Brent was like, that was cool. Like, just sing some of that in there, you know. And I love doing that stuff. Like, I've probably, like, if I'm in a writer's round, sometimes I'll do that on stage. And anyway, sang the demo. He was like, I'll send them to you. I'm like, sweet. You know, 6 months, like, later, he never sent me the songs. And in my mind, I was like, I must have not sounded good because he didn't send them to me. Like, he probably just, like, took them off after I left. And so I get a call from the phone says Jeffrey Stevens. I was like, by the way, Luke Bryan's producer, his name is Jeff Stevens. It said Jeffrey Stevens, and I was like, it was caller ID. I'm like, who is Jeffrey Stevens? It says the 615 number, and I'm like, voicemail. Send him to voicemail. Shit. And then he called again, and I was like, somebody, like, is this a bill collector? But, like, part of me was, like, wanting to answer it because it rang a bell, and I just let it ring again. I don't know. I'm weird about phone calls. So then he texted me. He's like, hey, Chancey, this is Jeff Stevens. Give me a call when you get a chance. And I was like, you dumbass. Oh, my God. I cannot believe I just did that, I immediately called him back, and he was like making small talk, and I'm over here racking my brain. Why in the world is he calling me or whatever? And a lot of times those phone calls end up being like riding lessons or something to do with horses or a horse question. And he was like, well, this is you singing on this Brent Cobb song, right? And I was like, yeah, that's me. And this is how he worded it, and it just shows like how humble that whole Luke Bryan camp is. But he was like, well, would you be willing to sing, he said willing, willing to sing on Luke's record? And I was like, yep. And I just took a moment, and I was like, this is it. This is not even that like this is gonna break my career. This is something that I worked so hard to do, and to be able to do something like this. And I did put in the work. You know, it wasn't something that came easy to me, and like I just let it all hit me, you know. And he's still on the phone, and I'm just like, and you know, wanting to cry. And yeah, I went in and sang on it, and I didn't remember the song, like which one it was, and so Brent ended up sending me the demo, and so I got to hear my part, and I got into the studio, and the guitar player had played the part that I sang on the demo. He had played that melody, and I was like, I had to come up with something else, like on the fly. But it ended up, you know, being great, and it worked out perfectly. And we had the first mix. The first thing I did in 2020, I was at a New Year's party, and Jody Stevens, who also produces Luke, Jeff's son, was there, and he was like, you want to hear it? And so the first thing I got to do in 2020 was hear the mix.
Nice.
And it was cool, and I ended up getting to go back. Luke was like, I feel like we need more of her. Like, we want her to do, because I did background vocals.
Well, don't everybody that meets you?
Do what?
Don't everybody that makes you say, we need some more of that. We need some more Chancey.
Oh, I hope so. I'm sure that my husband's probably like, will you shut up, please? So, I don't know if everybody. My dad sometimes is like, God, it's funny because he talks a lot too, so our phone conversations are great. My dad's like, he was like, let me finish. And I'm like, it's a two people conversation. Like, you've been talking forever. So I did the same thing. Yeah, so I think that was all of it. But
so it's nominated for ACM.
Yeah.
Did you get a plaque? Have you got something? What was
ACM,
that you got?
Oh, that was I wrote a song that went platinum. Is that what you're thinking?
Yes.
Yeah. Wrote a song that was in 2015 that happened.
I mean,
it got nominated for ACM Album of the Year.
Platinum is what, 500,000?
Million.
A million. Okay.
It's crazy.
See.
A million.
And I say you're one of the best songwriters in town, and you just blow me off. But I got proof.
It's cool to have that hanging. Like, they don't come along very often anymore, and it's something it's like my buckle that I won. I'll always have that. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much I tell myself in my head that I'm not a songwriter some days. I got that plaque on the wall that says I am. You know, it's good.
Well,
it's a good thing.
I'm very, very grateful to have Kristen Kelly as a friend. I'm grateful that she introduced us.
Same.
And I love you because of you. I love your songwriting too, but you're just who you are, and sometimes authenticity is hard in this town.
This town specifically. I thank you for saying that. It's not, you know. That's another. I keep talking about like, I have to work on this and I have to work on that, but I think like the reason I'm so open about it probably sounds like I'm, you know, not super confident. I'm perceived as a really confident person, and I would say I am more confident than not. But I just want, you know, just like the real stuff that like sometimes I don't talk about that like drives me. I mean, really, that kind of stuff like make me want to be better.
Yeah. Well, you took off for 6 years, and I don't want to get into it because we don't have time. We're out of time, actually. But next time we get together, I want to know what drove you to do that, and you know who you were during that period, because that happens to a lot of people. Happened to me. You know, I thought by giving up music was going to make at the time things at home better, but it didn't. It only made it worse because it was my identity. And when I didn't have that, I wasn't able to be who I needed to be to everybody.
Yeah, and I had the same experience. And it was at the end of the day, like, I lost a lot of contacts, and it wasn't an intentional break. It was just because I was lost, you know, and this town had burned me out. And yeah, so it was a good thing though, because it was like you rise from the ashes type deal. You know, I just felt like I'd gotten forgotten about.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, it's a bad feeling.
Yeah. We'll have to talk about it, but
that'd
take another hour for me to tell.
That'll be part 2. Well, hey, I can't think enough. I'm gonna let you take us out with this last song, but thank you for coming to the Real Music Nashville studios today.
Yeah, this is amazing.
I had such a good time.
I clearly had a good time, and I'm sober. I can't reach my drink, so that's good. It's probably a good thing. Could you imagine how much I talk? Chad's like, I know.
Well, y'all don't forget, y'all out there listening, don't forget to share this, and y'all look out. We'll do part 2 pretty soon. I won't let it go too long before we
that'll be
get you back.
Oh,
but so tell us just a little bit about this song.
Okay.
And
this is a newer one. I have a song called Rodeo Money, but I kind of just wanted to play like more of a new song that I don't normally play out. But there's a term called buckle bunny that we use in the rodeo world, and it's just like a girl that, you know, chases after cowboys and tries to dress the part, and it doesn't work. But kind of like cleat chaser, like groupie, like that. It's that for rodeo. And so I think I was just like downtown Nashville, and I swear Nashville is the only town where a dress and cowboy boots is still in style. Like nowhere else. Like that's been out of style since 2012. But Nashville, they come to Nashville and they think they gotta wear a dress and cowboy boots. So I was downtown one night and I heard somebody say, like there was some girls in the bathroom, and she was like, I should have wore my cowboy boots. And just growing up in rodeo, I'm like, if you gotta call them cowboy boots, you probably shouldn't be wearing them, you know. And so I kind of like had an idea of writing a song about that. And it's really not about, because some people hear it and they're like, well, I'm not a cowgirl. Like, you know, don't hate on me. It's like, it's okay to not be a cowgirl. Just don't act like you are and try to steal my man is basically what this song says. So it's called You Ain't a Cowgirl.
all right.
Well, I bet you bought that buckle from the downtown western store. And I bet those shiny boots ain't never seen a horse. You want a Mustang, but the kind you don't have to break. Well, we got a name for girls like you. You ain't a cowgirl. You just want a sunset ride, but you don't know how, girl. I'd love to see you try your less cowhide and spurs and more ribbons and pearls. And you think you can give my cowboy a whirl, but you ain't a cowgirl. Can you back a 4-horse trailer with a 12-foot short wall? Do you even understand what I'm talking about at all? I think it's kinda sweet. You wanna be the rodeo queen. Yeah, you and every other buckle bunny. Well, you ain't a cowgirl. You just want a sunset ride, but you don't know how, girl. Well, I'd love to see you try your less cowhide and spurs and more ribbons and pearls. You think you can give my cowboy a whirl, but you ain't a cowgirl. So, you like sweet tea and you might have a southern twang, but in don't mean a thing. 'Cause you ain't a cowgirl. Just want a sunset right, but you don't know how, girl. Well, I'd love to see you try your less cowhide and spurs and ribbons and pearls. You think you can give my cowboy a whirl, but you ain't a cowgirl.
That's one of my best friends, Chancey Neil, right there. World champion.
Thank y'all.
Oh, I love you. Thank you so much for
Cheers.
coming. And that's going to wrap it up for the night. I really appreciate. I'll have to get somebody else from Louisiana next time.
Oh yeah,
We had Lance last time. He's a
Have some-
Louisiana boy.
we're fun.
Y'all are fun.
We
Yeah.
are.
Well, maybe I'll reconsider.
all the I said it this weekend. I'll end with this. I said all my favorite people are easy to peer pressure. When I tell them to drink, they drink. I'm like, those are my favorite people.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Well, hey, thank you, Mitchell. Thank you for everything, brother. From Real Music Nashville,
Yeah.
and thank all y'all for being here. Y'all are beautiful. I guess we'll see y'all sometime in May. Do we have a date? We don't have a date. We'll be back in May, and we hope that you'll come back and join us on another episode.
Yeah, I'm down anytime.
But Chancey Neil, once again, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
And I'm Chad Wilson, and this is the
Thanks, Chad.
Deconstructed Sessions, the Real Music Nashville podcast, y'all. Thank y'all so much for joining us. We'll see y'all next time.
Cool. All right, that was fun.